The snow steamed where blackened blood had spilled, the heat of it fading into the cold mountain air. Xeeona stood among the aftermath, chest rising and falling, breath burning in his lungs. Around him lay churned drifts, broken stone, scorched hide, and the immense bulk of the troll now slumped and still, reduced at last to a shape that would never rise again. For a long moment, no one spoke. Hahn leaned on his axe as if it were the only thing keeping him upright. The blade was buried half an inch into the ice, his hands locked around the haft, knuckles white beneath the grime. Boric stood a few paces away, blood drying in a dark line down his brow, his shield split nearly to the boss. Both dwarves stared at Xeeona, not with triumph, not with fear, with something quieter, heavier. Xeeona knelt, withdrew his blade from the troll's corpse with a practiced twist, and wiped it clean on the snow. The steel came away dark, then bright again, as if nothing had happened. He inspected the edge briefly, nodded to himself, and slid the short sword back into its sheath. That was when Boric found his voice. "Well," he rasped, then coughed, spitting red into the snow. "I'll be damned and buried under it." Hahn let out a hoarse laugh that sounded like gravel rolling downhill. "I thought we were dead men walking for a breath there." Xeeona rose and turned as if to leave. "Oi!" Hahn called after him. "Hold!" Xeeona stopped. Slowly he looked back. The dwarves exchanged a glance, one of those quick, wordless looks forged by years of shared tunnels and near deaths. Boric pushed himself upright with a grunt and stepped closer, favouring one leg. "You could have walked off," Boric said. "Plenty would have." "I was already here," Xeeona replied. Hahn snorted. "That's not an answer." Xeeona said nothing. Another silence settled, awkward but not hostile. Wind moved through the ravine, carrying the stink of smoke and burnt flesh away into the trees below. Hahn reached into his belt pouch and drew out a dented flask. He hesitated, then extended it. "For what it's worth," he said. "Thanks." Xeeona looked at the flask as if it might bite him. Boric cleared his throat. "No tricks in it. Just rock gut strong enough to wake the dead. Or finish 'em." Xeeona took the flask. He drank once, short, controlled, and handed it back. The warmth spread faster than he expected. Hahn grinned through the blood in his beard. "You heading somewhere, elf?" "Half-elf," Xeeona corrected. Boric lifted an eyebrow. "That's so?" "Yes," Hahn shrugged. "Still, you heading somewhere?" Xeeona hesitated. The honest answer rose unbidden. Away. Instead, he said, "Down." Boric gestured with his chin toward the tree line. "Village that way. Not much to look at, but there's ale." Xeeona studied them for a long moment. Two battered dwarves, cracked armour, bleeding, exhausted, alive. "I don't stay long," he said. Hahn chuckled. "We'll try not to cry when you leave." They set off together, descending from the broken hills into the forest below. Snow gave way to packed earth and pine needles, the world narrowing into a winding path between dark trunks. Xeeona walked a pace ahead, silent, alert. The dwarves followed, voices rising as the tension drained from their limbs. "Did you see the way it swung?" Hahn said. "Nearly took my head clean off," Boric laughed. "Aye, and you charged it anyway, like a goat with a death wish." Someone had to keep it busy while our pointy-eared friend danced under its arms. Xeeona did not turn. "You ever seen one burn like that?" Hahn continued. "Smelled worse than a flooded mine," Boric groaned. "Don't remind me." I'll not eat stew for a week." They talked as they walked, about the fight, about how close it had been, about how they'd almost had it even before Xeeona stepped in. The stories grew larger with every step. Xeeona listened without comment, the corner of his mind noting the familiar rhythm of it. Fear transmuted into bravado, death kept at bay by words. The village revealed itself slowly, a cluster of low buildings huddled together as if for warmth, smoke curling from a handful of chimneys. A place forgotten by roads and maps alike. No walls, no guards, just endurance. The inn sat at the edge, its door crooked, its sign faded beyond reading. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of ale, old wood, and smoke. A handful of villagers glanced up as they entered, took in the blood and weapons, and looked away again. Survival here had taught them not to ask questions. They claimed a table near the hearth. A woman brought mugs without being asked. Boric watched Xeeona over the rim of his drink for a long moment, eyes sharp beneath the bruises. "Half-elf, aye," he said at last, then laughed softly. "But you fight like stone." Xeeona looked up. "Stubborn," Boric went on. "Patient, like a dwarf who learned to walk lighter." Han slapped the table. "That's it. Knew there was something familiar about you." Boric nodded. "Different face, same heart." The words struck deeper than either dwarf seemed to realise. Xeeona did not deny it. He stared into his mug, watching the surface ripple as the fire popped. For a fleeting moment, brief and dangerous, something warm and unexpected settled in his chest. After so many years, he did not smile, but deep inside he was smiling all the same.